What a year. What a year. I'm coming to you live from the wreckage of my New Year's Day game of Twilight Imperium. This was quite a fun game. 7 players. Only went to 10 points though. And we started it I started teaching the new players about 8 a.m., but we began playing about 10 because it took them a little while to pick up and I didn't have my usual PowerPoint to keep me on track. Plus we were in the middle of breaking down the game of TI that we played the night before, which had gone until 1:30 in the morning. So back-to-back games of Twilight Imperium, it was a lot. It was fun though, so I have no regrets. It was definitely a lot, and I definitely took a nap after this game. This game was a ton of fun. Both games were a ton of fun, but this game especially. Me and the more experienced players, we sort of took a step back and played more for the memes than anything else. We played to just have fun, try funny things, try new strategies, stuff like that. That's not to say we didn't do well. I mean, I'm sitting at 9 points, so I did pretty well for myself, even if I did try to just joke around and have fun. In fact, the eagle-eyed among you may notice that Mechatol Rex has been teleported outside of the galaxy because a coalition of the ghosts of Creus and the embers of Muat helped to swap some tiles around and trapped the Federation of Sol on a prison planet. So that was pretty fun. That moment got a lot of laughs around the table. But let's move off of this space opera simulation for a moment, and instead, let's talk about the purpose of this video, which it's been a long time coming. I have, since starting this channel back in October of 2019, I think. It was definitely in October, because I remember I wanted to make a top 10 board games of all time list and post it to the channel. But I was busy with finals and making the Twilight Imperium lore series that I was working on that started this whole project. So it just never really came to fruition. And then last year, 2020, which, man, already, we're in 2022, so 2021, 2020. In 2020, I just got busy around the holidays, and same thing sort of happened this year, but I'm making it now. I'm making a top 10 board games of all time, according to me. This is my own opinion. This is not the Board Game Hall of Fame or anything, so feel free to disagree. This is just my top 10 games. Couple of notes on just some rules. Generally speaking, I don't mean this as a slight against the larger channels like Shut Up and Sit Down or the Dice Tower, but generally speaking, I don't like it when people review board games having only played them once or twice, maybe 5 or 6 times. I don't think that people grasp a game fully until they've played it a couple. Now, obviously, this depends on the game. I've played Twilight Imperium. This was actually my 50th game that you're looking at right here. I've played TI 50 times, and I didn't grasp it until probably game 30. I didn't really understand what I was playing, and to a level that I feel would have felt comfortable reviewing it. I think I could definitely review TI now and have an unbiased and accurate view of the game. Now, people who review every board game that comes through and they play it 3 or 4 times and they go, okay, I've got a grasp of this. Totally understand it. It's a great service. It helps give overviews of games to people who are looking to buy. It's phenomenal. Some of my favorite channels do this. But it's just not what I want to be. I want to only really focus on games that I know and I'm very comfortable with. So, all of the games on this list will fall under that umbrella. They will all be games that I have played at least 20 times. I would say most of them probably upwards of about 40 to 50. TI is probably my highest played game. I think maybe Armada edges it out. I'm not sure. I don't have the stats on all of my different games. I kept track of TI because it was such a monumental experience, so I felt like it deserved to be recorded. So I don't know, but I definitely want to be very comfortable, and these are all games that I've played a lot. which means that games that I really enjoy, in fact, I really enjoy even more than games on this list, won't make it because I got them this year and I just haven't had time to play them. For instance, I've played War of the Ring twice. I love that game, but I am not comfortable enough with it to say that it deserves to be in a top 10 list. Nemesis is in the same boat. I've only played it 5 or 6 times, and I only got it this year, so I can't in good conscience put it on this list. But, you know, maybe next year. Hopefully next year, right? Hopefully I'll get to play all of these games a whole lot and get a better understanding of what's out there. I feel like I had another thing to clarify and make sure that everything was clear on how this list works. Oh, right. This is ranked. This isn't in no particular order, because if you don't rank your top 10 lists, you're a coward and I will fight you. I'm just kidding. All right, no. I'm fine if you just want to put 10 things out there, but it's just a little pet peeve of mine. It just irritates me when it's like, oh, here's this top 10 list, but also it's in no particular order. And it's like, no, what are you doing? Make a tier list then or something. I'm getting off track. I'll focus. This is a top 10 list. So number 1 is my favorite board game. I wonder which one it could be. And then number 10 is my 10th favorite board game. So let's get into it now that we have all of those ground rules out of the way. Number 10 is Dominion. Now, Dominion is the grandfather, the founder of the deck building genre. Now, deck building, for those of you who don't know, is adding and subtracting cards from a deck of cards that you shuffle each turn, or... Okay, I'm already messing this up. I didn't script this, in case you couldn't tell. So deck building, for those of you who don't know, is when you have your own personal deck of cards that you will be drawing from. You will add cards to that deck, sometimes take cards away from that deck in order to build your own personal engine. Now, it is a mechanic I love. I love deck building. I love Dominion. I love Marvel Legendary, which is actually, that's the game that got me into deck building. But it's just not the same as Dominion, because Dominion just has a rhythm to it, a clean design that is perfectly balanced and stripped down and simplified to be just this crisp experience where every choice you make, you feel the impact of it. And you can really get good at Dominion. You can really learn to feel the rhythm of the game. Now, that said, I have not played with any expansions. I've only ever played the base game, and that is enough for me. It's not a game I feel the need to expand. One of my buddies, Spencer, he has every expansion, and he knows them all, and he's a genius with the game. But for me, the base game is more than enough. So that's my number 10, Dominion, grandfather of deck building, and just a really enjoyable experience. A very clean, simple, but still fast-paced and it's a very fast-paced and very aggressive game where you're just constantly trying to edge out your opponent on how efficient you can make your engine. That's my number 10. Number 9 is Rising Sun. Now, this is the first Eric Lang game, but it will not be the last. Rising Sun holds a special place in my heart. I missed the original Kickstarter, but I always wanted to get my hands on all of those shiny goodies that came with the Daimyo box, the big expansion with all the stretch goals. And so when I got Rising Sun, I was like, oh, sick, all right, this is awesome. So I started playing it, and then eventually the Simon ran the, the time capsule or the time machine Kickstarter, and they included the Daimyo box, and I got my hands on one that way, which was really cool, and I really am glad that that happened because the Daimyo box is really neat, and I really like the Fox faction. Anyways, so that's my own backstory on Rising Sun. But what is Rising Sun? Well, you're playing as a feudal Japanese warlord during the Senjoku Jidai period, I think. At least I think it's supposed to be that period. And it's in a mythic version of Japan where there are dragons and demons and monsters and spirits that you can recruit to your cause, and you're trying to become the ruler of all Japan by accumulating victory points. Now, the thing that sets Rising Sun apart, and the reason it makes this list, is it has a very, very interesting and unique bidding combat system. So you'll bid on different actions you want to take in combat and then get resolved in order. And then, this is the cool part, the winner of the combat gives all the money that they bid to the losers of the combat. And the combats are resolved in order. So what you'll find is people will throw the earlier combats just to get money so that they can win the later combats. And it's this really interesting dynamic where you're trying to be very strategic about how you spend your money and how you do in combat so that you can accumulate the most victories in combat so that then you can get victory point bonuses at the end. Which is just a very interesting and it's a very crunchy system. I'm not saying it's the cleanest design. In fact, there's a game from Eric Lang that comes later that's a much cleaner design. Rising Sun has a lot of rough edges in my opinion, but it is still it's a very interesting and enjoyable experience, and boy oh boy does it have table presence. I mean, TI is the king of table presence, but Rising Sun it gives TI a run for its money. Let's just say that much. At least when you have everything spread out across the table and you've got all the colors of the factions, and it's a sight to behold. That is number 9. Number 8 is Root. Now, a lot of you have subscribed to this channel because you also subscribe to Space Cats Peace Turtles, and you love TI and I love TI, and it's a match made in heaven. Well, Space Cats Peace Turtles, they also sometimes talk about Root by Leader Games. Root is an asymmetric war game, and each of you is functionally playing a different game at the table. So, for instance, one faction, their mechanics are purely programmatic. So you program your actions and these persist throughout the game and you just keep resolving the same program, adding to it each round. Whereas another faction is playing an industrial area control infrastructure building sort of game, where you're trying to place buildings on the map and connect them into a network that then will score you victory points. And then there's other factions. I mean, the expansions add tons, but the one that really sets Root apart and what initially drew me in was the Vagabond, where you're playing a single guy just hopping around through the forest going on adventures. And that's just so cool how asymmetric everything is, that one of the factions is literally just a guy who's just going on adventures and allying with different people at different times. And the Vagabond is really, really, really good, and it's probably not even balanced. But I don't think Root really promises balance. I think Root balances itself through the meta and the table talk that happens, where factions will have to team up to take out the head contenders for the throne. I'm already talking in TI. Factions will have to team up to take down the person who's got the most victory points just so that they have a shot. So Root kind of self-balances in a way that a lot of board games don't. Like, even in TI, you'll sometimes see where really good factions can just stomp others, and unless the entire table gets together and kind of puts a stop to it. I guess that's kind of the same exact thing. Alright, TI is a bad example. I don't know. I didn't plan this. This isn't scripted. I'm off the cuff right now. Anyways, let's get back on Root, which is my number 8. I need to remember these numbers because I don't have like a list anywhere, you know? So number 8 is Root, and it's asymmetric, area control, war game. It's really enjoyable. It's like playing a Redwall novel on tabletop. And if you don't know what Redwall is, look that up. You'll thank me later. It's just cute woodland animals with swords and bows, and they fight one another, and it's really awesome. And Root is that, as a board game. So, what's not to love? That's number 8. Number 7. Yeah, number 7 is Blood Rage. That's the other Eric M. Lang game I mentioned. Blood Rage is cleaner than Rising Sun. It's crisper, it's simpler, and it's a leaner design. And it's, in my opinion, better because of it. There's no real rough edges in Blood Rage. Everything has its place. Every gear clicks exactly how it's supposed to. Blood Rage, for those of you who don't know, I need to remember that I need to explain these games. Blood Rage is, again, area control, and you're playing as different Viking clans who are seeking glory as the world is destroyed in Valhalla, not in Valhalla, wow, in Ragnarok, the end of days. Wow, I cannot speak tonight. This is a bad night to be recording this video. Anyways, so the world is exploding and provinces are crashing into fiery cataclysm, and you, as your Viking clan, are trying to die gloriously in battle as this happens around you. So you get points for dying gloriously in battle. You also get points for becoming more competent in battle. You get points for different quests you complete, like controlling these different regions and all sorts of stuff. It's a very, very, very fun game. And while at first glance it definitely seems like certain strategies, Loki strategy, are the best, in reality the game is quite balanced, and it's just that certain strategies are easier to pull off than others. But with a skilled table, people can take all different tactics with this game and come out totally winning. I think that it edges out Rising Sun solely because it's cleaner and crisper, and also the the drafting mechanism that powers the game is simpler than Rising Sun, and therefore it allows for more strategic thought because there's fewer pieces you have to try to control for, and there's more information on the table. So that's why Blood Rage beats out Rising Sun. That's why it's so high on this list, because it's just a very clean and crisp design. It's perfect. Well, it's not perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect game. It's not like Back to the Future. Back to the Future is a perfect movie, by the way. I have this concept of perfect. All right, I'm getting off track. All right, so we're on Blood Rage, which is number 6 or number 7? It was number 6. Number 5, I hope, is the Arkham Horror living card game. Now, disclaimer, I do not like the Arkham Horror living card game's business model. I don't like living card games. I don't like having to buy booster packs and collect the campaign. I prefer to just receive a box and it has a complete campaign in it. But guess what? That's what Fantasy Flight Games announced this year that they're doing. They're going to start to just release these campaigns as complete boxes. And that is so much better, just in every way. Because the living card game model was you'd spend $15 on a singular adventure that would come with a pack of cards, and then you'd add it to your game. And you'd keep doing that week after week, and eventually you'd have the full campaign. Well, I get some people might like that, but I just would prefer to have everything there at once. So if I want to, I can just burn through an entire campaign instead of having to go week by week and go back. I could buy them all at once, but I'm not going to do that because, first off, my game store doesn't have all of them in stock. All right, not the living card game rant. We'll do that another time. Right now, we're talking about why Arkham Horror, the living card game, is amazing. All right, in the game, you play as an investigator, and that investigator is represented by a deck of cards. You've got weapons, you've got abilities, you've got grit and determination, all represented as cards within this adventurer's deck, or this investigator's deck, sorry. And you will be playing out various adventures that are extremely well written, and, well, they're extremely different, and they're extremely, I'd say well written is a good word for it. It's not like you're expecting Shakespeare and you're getting Shakespeare. No, it's not like that. But they're still well written, cool adventures that differ from one another and have a compelling story. So if you like Lovecraft and you like the things that go bump in the night kind of vibe, you like the old ones, the eldritch horrors, the unfathomable things in the corners of your vision, you'll really like Arkham Horror, the living card game. Better, in my opinion, than Eldritch Horror, which is the other Lovecraft-based game that I really, really enjoy. It didn't quite make this list. A couple of years back it would have, but didn't quite make this list. Arkham Horror, the living card game, is just a very thematic and enjoyable experience. You get to build up your investigator over the course of the campaign, which is a very enjoyable thing. You're getting to add weapons and skills, and as they learn more and more things, they're getting more and more resources that they can use to fight this evil that they're facing off against. It's a very, very fun game. And now that it's being released in boxes, I feel good recommending that you go out and get it. I would go get 2 copies of the base game so that you can play with 4 people. At least that's how I play. If you get 2 people, just get 1 copy. But I play with 4 people, so I would get 2 copies of the base game and just go nuts. The first adventures, I think there's 3 in the first campaign. Tons of fun. I played it, I think, 3 or 4 times that whole campaign because it's just a very enjoyable experience. So that's Arkham Horror, the Living Card Game. That was number 5? Or was that number 6? I'm just going to have the numbers populate somewhere on the screen, just because it's easier for me to keep track. Up next is, I feel really basic and normie saying this, but it's Gloomhaven. It had to show up on the list, I suppose, because it is the number 1 board game of all time. And it deserves that title. And don't get me wrong, Gloomhaven is amazing. It is a phenomenal game. You get 20 pounds of game when you get Gloomhaven. Or is it? No, you get 10 pounds of game. 20 pounds is coming up. You get 10 pounds of game when you get Gloomhaven. You get a box this big. You could fit a small child in the box for Gloomhaven. And you get just an obscene amount of content. You get almost 100 different missions. You get, I think it's like 26 races that you can play as. You get just this winding story. It's really, really cool. It's everything you'd want. It's like D&D in a box is the best way I think I can describe it. You're playing a dungeon crawler. You all know what that is. You're going through dungeons, fighting monsters. But you're using like Euro mechanics to do so. You're playing different cards from your hand that you can resolve different effects depending on how you want to do it. And the initiative is controlled by the cards. And it's all sorts of just really interesting design choices that just work really well together. Gloomhaven was one of the first board games that I bought when I got into this hobby. I paid a premium for it because it wasn't available regularly at that point. It had just been kickstarted for the second time, and so there was just no real supply, and there didn't look like there was going to be for the foreseeable future. So I went on, I think it was eBay, and I bought one from a scalper, and I don't even regret that choice because the amount of fun I got out of that box totally made up for the high price point. Because it was just, we would basically play 2 times a week, me and this group of friends, and we just have tons of memories of just getting to, play cards and flip modifier decks and advance our characters. The thing that kind of has stopped us, Gloomhaven has sat on my shelf for a while now. I don't think I've even played this year, if I'm remembering right. The thing that kind of put that death knell, well, it's not a death knell, but the thing that kind of slowed us on the game is we just sort of got connected to our first couple of characters, and as we retired them and moved on to others, it just wasn't nearly as fun. It just wasn't nearly as cool because I don't know. That was just us. I didn't really like retiring my character. I liked my character. I had a level 9 Spellweaver at one point. I could just burst the entire room into flame if I wanted to. And so we kind of slowed down about the same time that we bought TI. And that might have something to do with it, honestly. This game takes a lot. And we play it regularly. So it's quite possible we just don't have time for Gloomhaven anymore. But I'm really wanting to get back into it. I backed Frosthaven, guilty. I have a problem with Kickstarter that I am working on because don't start Kickstarter, you guys. Don't do it. It is addictive and it's designed to be addictive. Do not start on Kickstarter. Like, only get the games on Kickstarter you absolutely know that you will play and love. That's my little Kickstarter rant. Maybe we'll do a whole video on that at some point because Kickstarter is insidious and I didn't realize it for like a year. Anyways, moving on. Gloomhaven, amazing, phenomenal. Can't wait for Frosthaven to come out. We'll probably shelf TI for a couple of months and just play Frosthaven. I don't know. It'll be, we'll have to figure that out. But that is my number 5, I think. Yeah, that's my number 5. Because number 4 is the first board game that I bought, Scythe. Scythe will always have a special place in my heart. Me and my friend group have gotten so good at Scythe that we can take our turns simultaneously and finish games in about 20 minutes. I think I've played Scythe 50, 60, 70 times at this point. It is so much fun. All right, let's talk about what Scythe is, and then I will rant about how good it is. Scythe is an area-controlled Euro game that looks and feels like a war game, even when it's actually an engine builder. So you'll have your little economy board, and you'll be moving cubes to upgrade things, and you'll be taking different actions each turn, trying to expand and push your armies and take land and produce resources, and it's all sorts of stuff, all in service of what are essentially objectives, essentially victory points. But the game is clean. It's in my opinion, it's an even cleaner design than Blood Rage. Like, it's just so stripped down and simplified to a point where you really, like, you couldn't find an ounce of fat to cut off of this board game. It is so strategic and interesting, and every mechanic works together like that, you know? It's just, Also, this is a thing that you may soon learn about me, is I love World War I and Eastern Europe as board game themes. Like, I don't know why, I mean, I don't, just not just board game themes, I just love that history. I love that whole vibe, that whole era. I love the turn of the century. I love steam power and Eastern Europe and Russian history and all that stuff. I really enjoy it. So Scythe just scratches an itch that I didn't even know I had until I saw Jakub Rosowski, whatever, his name's right here. I'll just put it on the screen. I saw his art and it was just, wow. It was like nostalgia for a place I had never been. It is such good art and the whole game is covered in it. So Scythe is just, it will always have a place on my top 10 list. Unless the industry really just knocks it out of the park in the next couple of years, I don't see how anything could ever dethrone Scythe from being up at the top end of this list. But let's talk about the things that beat it out. Because there are 3 games, because Scythe is number 4, so 3 things have beaten that game out. And that, oh man, I really want to play it now. Alright, number 3. Number 3, oh man, I can't remember what order I put them in. Alright, number 3, Star Wars, no, I gave it away. Number 3 is Kingdom Death Monster. Alright, yes. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the list, because again, I don't have it like written down or anything. I put a lot of thought into this, it's hard to remember my rankings where I actually fell on things. Kingdom Death Monster is, if it's for you, you'll know it when you look at it. When you start looking into buying Kingdom Death, you'll know if it's for you or not. Because trust me, it is not for everyone. It is adult, which I'm not a huge fan of. I really don't like adult themes generally, but Kingdom Death is the one exception. And it's just because the theme and the mechanics and everything come together into this symphony of just like nightmare horror survival that's also incredibly thematic and cool. And just, it's totally unique. I would like an entire hour to just gush over how this game is. I don't even know. I cannot put words to it. I'm trying to work on writing a review script for this game because it's very difficult for me to explain why it's so good. It is not clean. It is the anti-Scythe. There are mechanics that go, there's paths that go nowhere. There's mechanics that just are completely useless. The box is bloat, and yet it's just an experience that's just so enjoyable and funny. And I'll sit around this table with my friends for hours playing Kingdom Death, and we will shred lions, or lions will shred us. And we'll fight a radioactive dragon that will just turn people into glass. And a giant bird that has an old man face in its beak that can make you go old or turn back time and make it so that you were never born. Like it's such an interesting experience, and it's just so unique and cool, and I don't know. It's something else. It's just something else, and it definitely deserves to be at the top of this list. Personally, again, this is not a game for everyone, and I do not recommend that you buy it if you're under 18. It is definitely an 18 plus board game, but I don't know, like it's really interesting. It's really, really enjoyable. All right, number 2. We're almost there. Number 2, Star Wars Armada. Now, I have videos on how to build fleets for Star Wars Armada. I'll link them, I'll link them up here. I don't know if I'll link them, they'll be linked down in the description. There we go. Star Wars Armada is a fleet building miniatures game based in the Star Wars universe. I'm a big fan of Star Wars. I mean, who isn't really? Original trilogy is the best. Fight me, get in the comments and just say, no, the prequels are the best. No, the sequels. No, it's the original trilogy. It's not even close. Empire Strikes Back might be one of the greatest movies ever made. Blah, 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 blah. Star Wars Armada is just beautiful. It's so thematic and cool to have Star Destroyers smashing into the Home One, and you've got the Separatists and the Republic fleets just clashing and fighting over objectives and all sorts of stuff. It's just a really thematic and cool game, and I never really got into Warhammer. I have a little bit of Warhammer, and I've tried, but it doesn't. Maybe I just haven't dove into it like I should. But Star Wars Armada already scratches that itch. I will think about fleets that I can build, and then me and my buddy will just meet up and we'll just play the game, and we'll just smash those fleets together and see who wins. And it's just so enjoyable. I don't know. I don't know why it's just my favorite game. Well, it's not. It's my second favorite game. Number 2. But it's just so good. Anyways, it's number 2 because number 1, what else could it have been, is obviously Twilight Imperium. I mean, come on. Space opera, 24 unique factions. You've got War Suns. You've got Death Stars, but with spikes on them. I mean, you've got Peace Turtles. And you've got, you've got humans, whatever. Oh, here. You've got Panthers with gnomes. You've got gnome Panthers. There's the lore. There are 2 lore booklets that come with this game, and there's also novels, and there's codexes, and there's all sorts. It's so cool, and it's just dripping in like that 80s era pulp of like kind of out there sci-fi. Like it feels like Dune, if Dune was like kind of written by a high schooler, but in that it's like cool because it's weirder than Dune. I don't know. It's just the vibe is so cool. You look at some of the old artwork that they have, and you're just like, how did anyone ever find this cool? But also, why am I finding it cool? It's that. There's a nostalgia to this game, even when I wasn't alive at the point when that sort of culture was popular. And beyond that, beyond any of the theme, which this game is dripping in, mechanically, it is... Okay, it's not clean. It's not elegant. It's not an elegant design. It is crunchy, pulpy goodness, where you can... I mean, at this point, I basically memorized every action card, every agenda, and yet every time I've still got just like rules questions out the wazoo that I have to consult the internet for. So it's not clean. It's not a stunning design that just makes you think, wow, how did they even think of this? But it's so enjoyable. And when it comes down to the last round and you're trying to maneuver your fleets into position so that you can hopefully just cinch that 10th victory point, or that 14th if you're playing it properly, oh my gosh, is it good. It is so much fun. Like, no other game can offer you what this game offers you. And yes, it demands a lot. It demands at least 6 hours. I mean, we regularly play to 6 hours. I don't think that we generally go much further over, but we're not heavy on negotiation, or rather, our negotiation doesn't last very long. So this game demands at least 6 hours, but really, realistically, for the average board gamer, it's going to demand a weekend. And I also don't think it's for everyone. Just like Kingdom Death, this game is a lot, and it's not going to speak to everybody, but the people it does speak to, it's going to sing. It is such an enjoyable experience, and I think everybody should try it at least once. And yeah, you'll have to sit through 30 minutes of rules, but trust me when I tell you, it is worth it. And that's why it's number one, because it just, this game, you will sit down after an 8, 9, 10 hour experience, and you'll just talk to the other players. And you go, oh, you remember how you did this? Well, I had this action card that I should have played. And you'll have conversations for an hour or two afterwards, just explaining what happened in the game and just laughing about it. Oh, it's a good game. See, now I want to play this game. I want to play TI now. I want to play Scythe, TI, some Star Wars Armada, and some Kingdom Death. So maybe that's what you should take away. Those are the 4 games that if you take nothing else away, look into them. And if you have to take one of those away, look into TI. All right? It's such a fun and enjoyable experience, even if it demands a lot of you. It demands a huge table, it demands a lot of time, and yet it delivers on those promises. Don't go into it expecting a war game, because it's not Risk in Space. TI is so much more than that. It is Sid Meier's Civilization, but I guess that is a board game. I was going to say, but as a board game. But as a space opera experience. It's pulpy, it's messy, but it has just a heart of gold. And that's why it's number one. That's why it's number one. All right. Well, there's my top 10 board games of all time. Wow. There's my top 10 board games of all time. Yeah. Happy New Year. 2022 is going to be lit. I'm working on a script right now that I thought was going to take me like a week to write, and it's taken me at least a month and a half, which is the Twilight Imperium universe versus the Warhammer 40k universe. Let me tell you, everybody always, like, everybody in the comments on my post about this was saying, oh, Warhammer's going to win. I'm not going to give it away, but I'm going to say people need to stop discounting TI, all right? This universe has teeth. It's got teeth. All right, anyway, so I'm working on that. I was thinking about maybe doing some Tainted Grail gameplay videos. I'm working on setting up like a camera and stuff and trying to maybe like, I don't know. I don't really want to stream it because I think that would go poorly. But I would like to try to like maybe edit together some gameplay of Tainted Grail because I'm trying to play Tainted Grail. I'm not a solo gamer, but I really want to get into it because it seems like it'd be a really fun game. But so maybe if I videotape it and post it and I have like that keeping me going, that could be fun. So I'm going to try that. I don't know if that's going to work, but I'm going to try it. And then I'm also working on a lot of TI lore. Lots of TI lore is coming this way. I basically took December off because it's just been hectic, holidays and all that stuff. Christmas was awesome this year, but it was also just like, you know, I went to Canada. I got stuck in Canada because of the COVID restrictions changing. It was a whole thing. But yeah, so look forward to lots more videos this year. I'll probably come with like maybe a channel update in February to really give an idea of what I'm planning. But right now, enjoy this video. I hope you had a great Christmas, a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and I hope that you played lots of board games. Cheers!